Dear students, have a great day to all of you. First of all, I wish you a great and successful Happy New Year for all of you. Children, still the little days remaining before your O-level examination with you. You know the date. The date is already released, 29th of May. So please calculate how many days remaining before your O-level examination. Are you ready? Yes, definitely I know you are ready for your O-level examination. But still, there may be little issues in your science knowledge. So that's why we have started a free of charge video series for you through our YouTube channel, through our Argentum YouTube channel. For single medium students as well, we have given these videos, and those are very helpful to empower your science knowledge, how to write a proper answer for the science paper. So children, today also you have gathered here with our new video launched by our YouTube channel. So hope all of you will join with us. Please take the past paper book. Please pay your full attention to this lesson, and please keep in touch with the lesson very well. So wish you all the best, and let's start. Okay children, now get ready for our today's past paper discussion with your past paper. Today I am discussing a special question, right? Actually this question was discussed in a single medium video series as well, because this question is based on several lessons regarding grade 10 and 11 physics. That's what I selected this question, and I think this question is very important for you. So let's do that question. 2021 O-level paper, that means the O-level paper which was occurred in last year, right? So in your O-level examination, this kind of a question will not come, but this knowledge is very important for you to have a good result. And if this kind of a question again comes to the paper, you can write the answers very properly, right? So 2021 O-level paper, structured essay question, third structured essay. Take out the paper. Third structured essay. Now actually it's not third one, fourth one. Fourth structured essay, right? So children, now once you see this, right, sometimes you will think like this question is very easy, but those who have not done any works regarding this question, sometimes definitely they may think that this question is too much hard. But we can't estimate a question, right? We can't give any impression for a question once we have the first look of it, right? You have to analyze the question very properly first. Then later you can have an idea what kind of the question is in the paper, and what is the way we can write a proper answer for this. Those things can be thought after being analyzing this question. Right, now see the question children. Actually little figure is also given. ABCD is a horizontal path, horizontal and vertical. You are familiar with horizontal and vertical because in mathematics you know the graph. Horizontal axis is always belongs to x-axis, and vertical axis always belongs to y-axis, x and y. Now if you consider about velocity time graph, always horizontal axis goes to y or x-axis, vertical axis always goes to y-axis, right? So we have the graph as well, we can see it later. ABCD is a horizontal path, and the distances between the points AB, BC and CD are equal. The parts of the path AB and CD offer friction, right? So children, have you heard about friction? Are you familiar with friction? Do you know what is friction? Do you know what is the meaning of the frictional force, right? Children, remember friction. Actually friction is what? Friction is a phenomena. According to science, friction is known as a phenomena. Friction is belongs to all the surfaces in our earth, right? Children, there's no surface without frictional force, right? That means all the surfaces, whatever the surface in our earth, right? Some surfaces are very smooth, some surfaces are very rough, some surfaces are slightly smooth, slightly rough, middle way, like that, right? So all the surfaces, they have friction, right? So frictional force can be generated, frictional force can be acted, that kind of a surface, right? So Would you agree with this statement? There is no surface without friction in the world. Do you agree? There is no surface, there is no actual surface without friction. No, right? Every time, right? All the surfaces in the world, right? If that should be an actual surface in the world, right? It should have a friction. What do you mean by friction? Friction is this. Children, now when we are walking, when we are going here and there, right? When you are driving a car, or when you are pulling an object, when you are pushing an object, always the flow is giving another opposite force for that object. So if you are the object, that force is acted for you from the earth, like this, right? Simple example. Now, right, this is an object, right? Just think that this is a box or something, an object, right? So children, this object is pushed, right? This object is pushed by someone by giving 50 newtons, or we can give any amount, any quantity, 50 newton. So to which direction this object is pushed? So not pushed, no, push, right? To which direction this object is pushed? This way. You can see this here, right? So children, when this object is pushed, another opposite object, not object, another opposite force is acted from the surface where it is already applied with the object. So if you are pushing this on the floor, this floor is giving, or the surface which is exposed to this object, it is giving an opposite force to the same object. So can you guess to which direction the opposite force is acted? If you push this object to this way, the opposite force is acted to this way. That force is known as frictional force, right? So frictional force is acted because of friction, right? So children, remember, every time, right, friction is very important for our day-to-day life, right? Sometimes we are trying to do some actions to reduce the friction. If you have played carom, right, you know powder is applied on the carom board. Why? Do you know why? To become the surface smooth and soft, then you can easily play the carom. Otherwise it's too much hard, right? But children, if you consider about our road, right, if that is filled with muddy or concrete or whatever, right, it is very rough, isn't it? If you, now I'm touching the wall here, I can feel rough, right? If that is smooth, right, don't think friction is zero. No, friction is zero means still a no friction. I told you at first, there's no surfaces without friction. That means if even that is very smooth, remember, at least a decimal amount of friction is there present, right? Friction is present. No surfaces without friction. Understood? So that is the major point, the very first point you should understand after reading this question, right? Okay, well, a trolley of mass 4 kilogram was placed at A, and a horizontal force of 12 Newton was applied. Children, please underline, a horizontal force of 12 Newton is applied, right? You have to underline the highlighted points very carefully, because those points will be helping for you to have a good answer for this question. That's what I ask you to underline, the important points which are hidden inside this calculation. So those are giving good hints for you to have a good idea regarding this calculation. Understand? Right. Next, when the trolley reached B, the 12 Newton force was removed. So until only the point B, right, from A to B until B, only just the 12 Newton force is given, force is active. So that was given by someone, the person who is in outside, no problem. That is the force given from outside. Well, the trolley that entered part CD came to the rest at D. That means the trolley was stopped at D. The frictional force acting on the trolley when moving the parts offering friction was 49. That means the places where it has the friction, what is the frictional force? 4 Newton, right? Now the figure is given. Now let's try this using this figure. First of all, you should have an idea to draw a little diagram. Now already here a diagram, a figure is given for you, but for your further awareness, children, I'll redraw it again, right? Okay, first I identify the major sketch of here. This is the horizontal path that is already mentioned, right? This is the point A. They have mentioned that A, B, C, D, those points, the distances of each points are equal with each other, isn't it? A and here B and C. So this is the sketch 1 and D, right? So a trolley was started here. This is the trolley, right, from point A. So what is the mass of the trolley? 4 kilograms. And children, 12 Newton force is given by someone. We don't know who is that, right? From outer force, right, the force which comes from outside, 12 Newton force was given, right? No problem, right? That is giving an idea about to have the answer for the calculation, right? 12 Newton force is given. And can you see here opposite force? They have given 4 Newton. Can you see? When you analyze, you can see that, right? 4 Newton opposite force is given. Actually, what is that 4 Newton opposite force? It is the frictional force. It is the friction. If you can understand that, you can have the good idea of what is going on in this calculation, right? Well, then they have mentioned what? Now, AB surface is rough. So to show here rough, I'm drawing like this. And BC surface is smooth. Children, now actually no smooth surfaces in the world without friction, but according to the calculation, we have to imagine that this kind of a road is given here, right? So BC is smooth. Smooth means, what can you say about friction? Friction is 0. That means frictional force is not acted from B to C. Again, C to D, right? The surface is rough. So same 4 Newton frictional force is acted here. So children, 4 Newton frictional force is acted from which to which? C to D here. B to C, no. A to B also present, right? If you can have the basic idea of this calculation very properly, you can go ahead. No any much hard things here, right? The way you analyze the calculation, the way you try to gain the correct answer, right, will give you a path to have a good idea of this, right? Okay. Now listen carefully. Now I am going to explain about how this trolley was started from A and came to rest until D. Right. Now children, a person is giving 12 Newton outer force to this 4 kilogram mass trolley. Then what happens? When that person is giving the force until A to B, the force is acted 12 Newton. Because of that 12 Newton, the trolley came from A to B, right? So A to B, you know, 4 Newton frictional force was also acted, right? Then what happens? This 12 Newton force was removed from B. That means children, what can you say about the motion of the trolley from B to C? From B to C, what happens? What can you say about the motion of the trolley from B to C? Children, remember, from B to C, the outer force, 12 Newton force was not given. Understand? That means, right, the trolley is going from B to C without any effect, without an influence by someone. So the velocity of the trolley is not increased. The velocity of the trolley is not decreased. Then if the velocity is not increased, if the velocity of the trolley is not decreased, what can you say? The velocity is constant. Constant means, children, uniform velocity. So uniform velocity is acted uniform. Because of the uniform velocity B to C, this trolley was passing B to C because of the constant velocity, because of the uniform velocity. Why? No one is giving 12 Newton or whatever the force, no one is giving. That's why B to C always. You know the Newton? We know that normally without increasing or without decreasing the velocity, we are telling that the vehicle is going neutral way, right? Neutral means the speed is not increased, speed is not decreased, the normal way without our influence, right? So that is known as constant velocity. What can you say about this motion from A to B? A to B, from A, right? The object was rest, right? Stationary. That means from A, the object, the trolley was stopped. Then, because of 12 Newton, what happens of the velocity? The speed of the trolley increased according to time. When the velocity was increased, time is passing according to that. Simultaneously velocity is also passing. Then what is the name? Quantity? Acceleration. So A to B, what is the motion? Acceleration. B to C, uniform constant velocity. C to D, what can you say about C to D? Children, again frictional force is acted from C, isn't it? Again the frictional force is acted from C until D. So because of that frictional force, right? So no one is giving another force from out. Then what happens? Because of this frictional force, this trolley is trying to stop, trying to come to rest. So now after passing C, again this is exposed to this frictional force gradually. Because of this frictional force, because of the roughness of this surface, gradually, what happens? This trolley comes to rest. That means time is passing, velocity is gradually decreased. That means what can you say? Deceleration. Deceleration means the velocity is decreased according to the time. Deceleration. So that was question in here, right? So actually children, if you can understand these three very properly, right, you have done all the calculation. No problem, right? This is hard, not hard actually, right? There are some few points to understand this one, right? Acceleration, constant velocity, and deceleration, right? Simple phenomena, isn't it? You have to see the calculation properly and try to understand what is going on here, right? All the informations are given, all the details are given. So you have to read properly and understand what happens, right? They have clearly informed, right? Outer force is given, right? External force is given. We don't know who gave that. No problem, right? No need. 12 Newton force is given. So first point A, the trolley was stationary, right? No one is to start it, but then it was started, then comes to point B. So until point B, right? Because of the 12 Newton force, what should happen to the trolley? It should be the velocity should be increased because of the trolley. Now when we are driving a car or some vehicle, right, we should do what? So by using our foot, we should touch the accelerator. What do you mean by accelerator? When you touch the accelerator, what happens? When you squeeze the accelerator, what happens? The velocity of the vehicle was increased, right? So we can tell we are raising it, right? Then when you remove it, when you omit it, what happens? For few distance, for few meters, it is going neutral way without our influence, right? Then what happens? When you are going speedily, you can see the person is crossing the road. Then what you should do? Which one you should squeeze? Which one you should touch? Brake or accelerator? If you put the accelerator again, what happens? You can kill that person, right? So that is up to you, right? So when you are driving, if you have seen the person who is crossing the road, who is always supportive to current government, you can think whether if you can touch the accelerator or a brake, right? So if the person who is very innocent and who is always trying to speak against with the current rules in Sri Lanka and also always unfair, right? So if that person is very good, isn't it? So that time you have to think whether you can squeeze, you can touch the brake or accelerator. It's up to you, right? Whatever, remember, right? If you can touch the brake, that means the vehicle comes to rest, stopped. If you can touch the accelerator, the velocity is increased. So what happens here, right? The trolley is given acceleration, right? So that is not mentioned properly, but you have to understand it because 12 Newton force is given. Now this isn't a machine, no, not a vehicle. This is just a trolley. So that's why outer external force is given 12 Newton. Because of that 12 Newton, the velocity is increased. That is known as acceleration, right? Because of that acceleration, what happens? The velocity of the trolley is increased, right? Velocity increased. Velocity increased. So velocity increased against the time. That is known as what? Acceleration, right? Simple quantities, physical quantities, right? So here, now after B, no friction, and this 12 Newton force was removed. Then what happens? Without any influence, the trolley is transported from B to C, right? Without increasing or without decreasing the velocity. That is known as, right, uniform or constant velocity. This time velocity increased? No. Velocity decreased? No. Velocity is constant, uniform velocity. When it comes to C, right, no one needs to give the force. Then what happens? The surface is already rough and also the frictional force is also acted. Because of that reason, the trolley comes to rest. According to time, velocity is decreased. Velocity decreased. Velocity decreased. Because of the decretion, right? When the velocity is decreased according to time, that is known as deceleration. This is the way we can have an idea about this calculation, right? So a simple question is mentioned, right? A table is there from A to B. What is the answer? A to B. A to B, acceleration. B to C. What is the answer? B to C, constant or uniform velocity, right? C to D here, right? According to time, against with the time, velocity is decreased, right? That is known as deceleration. So acceleration, uniform velocity or constant velocity, then C to D, deceleration, right? Then you are supposed to draw a sketch of velocity time graph. Children, what can you say about velocity time graphs? Why we are drawing velocity time graph? If you have anything to note down, please draw. Hurry up. Okay, children. Velocity time graph, right? Do you know, right? In all level syllabus. Now, if you have analyzed the past papers from 2016, you may find few calculations regarding velocity time graphs, MCQ questions as well as second paper structured or essay questions, right? So remember, right, if you analyze those questions very properly, if you refer those past paper questions very properly, children, right, you can understand one thing. What is that? Children, always the format of velocity time graphs are equal in every years, isn't it? Did you refer that? Children, if you know velocity time graph, right, the simple sketch, right, velocity over time, right, the simple sketch of velocity time graph should be drawn like this way, this way, this way, right? Can I show it by your hand? Mm, mm, mm. Right? These only three graphs are attached, right? And the final graph is created, right? Here, I'll divide these three like this, right? Now what happens, children? Now the time is passing always. You know it, right? Time is passing, right? Against with the time, right? With the according to the time, what happens to velocity? It is also passing, right? Okay. Then what happens? Now 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, like that. Now I'm drawing the little sketch here, right? What happens? Now when the velocity is 1, When the time is 1 second, right, you can tell here velocity is also 1, right, 2, 3, 4, likewise, right, 2 velocity is 2, right, 3 velocity is 3, right, 4 velocity is 4. So like that, by cutting these points, we have drawn this graph. So what can you say? According to time, what happens to the velocity? Velocity is also increased. According to time, velocity is increased. That is known as acceleration. So children, right, what is represented here? This graph shows what? Acceleration. This graph shows acceleration. This one, time is 6, velocity 4. Time is 7, velocity 4. Time is 8, velocity 4. Time is 9, velocity 4. Time is 10 seconds, velocity again 4. Time is 11 seconds, velocity again 4. Time is 12 seconds, velocity again 4. Same velocity, no? Isn't it? Time is passing according to time, same velocity. So velocity is not changed, but time is changed. So if the velocity is not changed, what is that? Constant velocity. So this graph shows what? Constant velocity. Here 12, 13, 14. Velocity is gradually decreased according to time. When the velocity decreased, we call it as deceleration. Yes. So what is represented? This one, deceleration. Understand? So that's why all the velocity time graphs are like this. If you analyze the past papers of O levels, right, all the velocity time graphs are like this, right? So in A levels there are some different velocity time graphs, but in your O level syllabus you have to show only these three, right? If you think I am telling lies here, please analyze the past papers after 2016, even before 2016 also same, right? Only way, this one, increasing velocity, acceleration, constant velocity, right, without increasing or decreasing velocity. Velocity is uniform, decreasing velocity. Acceleration, uniform, deceleration. Acceleration, uniform, deceleration. Here, acceleration, uniform, deceleration. Acceleration, uniform, deceleration. So you are supposed to draw this one, right? Don't need to put the numbers for x-axis. No need to put the numbers of y-axis. Just draw horizontal and vertical axes. Just name them properly. Horizontal axis goes to time. Vertical axis goes to velocity, and draw the simple sketch: increasing, constant, decreasing. Acceleration, uniform velocity or constant velocity, decreasing. This little sketch diagram is needed, right? Children, see how easy this question, no? Yeah, that's what, right? What is the unbalanced force acting to the trolley on its motion from A to B? Right, unbalanced. Now children, remember the reason why I selected this calculation to explain for you. There are some severe lessons, several lessons are added to complete this calculation. One is Newton laws, right? Now we have come to that point, right? Other one is motion of the straight line, velocity, acceleration, deceleration, uniform velocity, velocity time graph. That's one, right? So if you turn the other side, you can understand here the balancing of the forces, right? Force balancing, resultant forces, force balancing of it. And the final one is goes to momentum of the force, that's one, right? So see how many lesson parts are included in one calculation. Children, that is known as the creativity of the calculation. Now previously, before 2015-16, before past papers in O levels, this creativity was not there. Just the raw theory part comes to the O level paper. So the children always remembered the theory part, and also the way, or they are also remembering, they are trying to read the way of how to do the calculation properly. Then they are storing it in their memory, and just inside the in front of the paper they are just remembering it and writing. That's enough, right? No any creativity, no way to think, right? But now it's not like that. The calculation is very creative. So what do you mean by this creativity? Creativity means one calculation is built up according to with the help of some other the severe lesson parts. If you analyze the biology question, that is also same, right? Reproduction question is there. After, at the end of the reproduction, it comes to inheritance. Now we can build up that question, isn't it? We can ask from students to mention about the gene cells of male and female, sperm cell and egg cell, right? And we can ask what are the hormones which are helping to exist the reproductive systems of male and female. Those questions can be asked. Then we can shift finally, draw the probability of making a baby, whether it is male or female in a family, according to charts, according to inheritance charts, like that. So that is the way we combine inheritance lesson with reproduction. So lots of questions can be made according to creativity of the professor who made this question, right? Okay, well, right. What is the unbalanced force acting on the trolley of its motion from A to B? Right, children, unbalanced force. Now, how can we find it? See, 12 Newton force is given by someone, right? Because of that 12 Newton force, right, this trolley was started to pass from A to B. But one problem, what? A to B surface, what is acted? Frictional force is acted. So because of that frictional force, can this 12 Newton force is given very properly to the trolley? No. Why? Opposite force is acted. So that's why what you should do, you have to, if you need to take the unbalanced force, right, you have to subtract, right? You have to take the unbalanced force. 12 is the given force minus 4. 4 is the frictional force. 12 minus 4, 8 Newton is the answer. 8 Newton is the answer. 8 Newton is the unbalanced force, right? Unbalanced force is 8 Newton, right? So see, we have shifted now from velocity time graphs to Newton laws, right? So these theory parts are very important, children. So I am selecting these questions for your major awareness. Now, actually, if we talk the honesty here, now you think sometimes you will fail in O level in science, but actually when you ask, when you hear very properly, if you pay your full attention to my lesson here with your past paper book, and you can do the question with me, definitely you will realize nothing inside the question, simple theories. But what happens? The way that you emphasize the question, the way that you understand the question, the way you analyze the question, the way you pick the important details from the question, right, will decide your marks, your score. That was the problem. But please identify your weaknesses first, children. That was the first thing. First, understand your weaknesses in this lesson. Now, if you are not good at Newton laws, we have to take that lesson again and do some little calculations and refresh your memory. You don't have much time to do the full lesson right now, right? So just little calculations. If you don't know velocity time graph, children, velocity time graph is actually what? Isn't it? Acceleration, uniform, deceleration. That's enough. That is the only velocity time graph, right? Lots of pages are reserved in your textbook. No need. Only this. Yes, right? So no need lots of theories, right? And other thing is, now we have little days remaining, very limited days remaining, right? Very few days remaining. So how can we take every details here right now? Every lessons? No, we don't have much time. So what you should do these days? You have to pick the marks, right, with the lessons which are very familiar with you, right? You have to understand, I'm good at this lesson, I'm good at this lesson, I'm weak at this lesson. So if you are very weak for these lessons, now just think about electronics, current electricity, that kind of lessons. If you are not good, right, nothing to do, you have to omit those lessons, right? You have to omit it. You have to remove those lessons from your mind. Nothing to do, because time is not enough. But these lessons, never do that, right? Because you can understand these lessons, know any hard things in these lessons, right? That's what. Okay, so don't remove these lessons from your mind. Very important and very easy. And if you analyze the past paper, right, lots of marks are reserved for these questions. So why can't you take all the marks? You can. But the problem is you are not caring these things. You are neglecting these things. No, children, that should not be happen, right? So new year has come right now. So think, right, I'll do my best, right? With that wish, please go ahead. Well, right. So what is the unbalanced force here? 8 newtons, right? Next one. I'll erase after this calculation. Calculate the acceleration of the trolley during its motion from A to B. Very easy, isn't it? Now we have found here unbalanced force 8 Newton, right? Then once you see this question, what you should remember? Newton laws. Newton's second law, F equal ma. Can you remember? F unbalanced force, m mass of the object, a acceleration, right? So 8 Newton, mass is given 4 kilograms. My good, very easy, right? 4a equal 8 over 4 cancel, a 8 by 8 over 4, 2 meters per square second, right? This is the acceleration, right? So children, right, if you don't understand this question at first, do you know, can you find unbalanced force? No. Do you know, do you know how to find acceleration? No. Each and every sub questions are connected with the previous question. Understand? So that's what, that also should be in your mind. Otherwise you can't take a proper answer, right? So we have completed this one, right? If you can understand this chart very properly, I know some of you are very good at this part, no problem, but some students are there, they are very weak even for this part as well. So I am talking for them here mainly, right? This channel was created for you children, so your responsibility is sharing these videos and publish this channel with your friends. That's what I ask from you, right? Okay, if any thing to be noted down, please do, right? We are shifting to other part. Hurry up.